Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. The updated and expanded second edition of my book, The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments, is now available. Readers can expect to march with Arnie's Army at the 1960 U.S. Open, relive Jack Nicklaus's remarkable 1986 Masters win, and be amazed by the Tiger Slam. The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments. Pick it up where fine books are sold, including BarnesandNoble.com and Amazon.com.
This day in sports history. It's March 28th, and on this day in 1992, Duke's Christian Laettner hit the shot to beat Kentucky. Honestly, I don't know how much more I need to say about it that you don't already know or have seen or heard. If you've watched the ESPN 30 for 30 documentary, I Hate Christian Laettner, then you know all about how this game ended, what happened prior to it with the stomp on Amino Timberlake's chest. If you're a Duke fan, you probably have this game on your favorites on YouTube. And if you're a Kentucky fan or a Tar Heel fan, you probably stopped listening about 15 seconds ago. But here we are, so let's talk about it. And going into this one, it's a great matchup, right? Duke, number one in the country, defending national champs, the 1 seed in the East against the Kentucky Wildcats, number 6 in the country, the 2 seed with their lineup known as the Unforgettables, which consisted of their 4 seniors, Richie Farmer, Darren Feldhouse, and John Pelfrey, all Kentucky natives, and Sean Woods from Indiana. And they also had Jamal Mashburn. Just as a reminder, they were called the Unforgettables because they all chose to stay at Kentucky despite the NCAA putting the program on probation, banning them from playing on live television in the 1990 season and from postseason play in both the 90 and 91 years. And that was all due to the infractions around the recruitment of Chris Mills back in '88. Anyway, here we are, an Elite 8 matchup, a trip to the Final Four at stake. And this game turned out to be one of the best college basketball games of all time. In fact, come on. It's either this game or the 1973 ACC championship game. If you've got something else at the top of your list, then we need to get together and talk this out over a few beers or something. Anyway, the game was close throughout. Duke was up 5 at the break. They extended the lead to as many as 12 in the second half. That lead was down to 5 when Laettner drew a foul on Amino Timberlake with 8:05 remaining. And with him lying prone on the floor underneath him, Laettner stomped on Timberlake's chest and then walked away. A technical foul was assessed. Now, should he have been ejected? Well, there's a lot of good arguments for that. The contact was obvious. The intent was obvious. But the officials didn't look at any video replay of the incident to determine any more about it. Those watching at home and listening to announcer Vern Lundquist could see the intention in the slow-mo replay, but the referees never took a second look at it. And there was a rule in place that allowed referees to check on fighting and who was involved in a fight, but this wasn't a fight, and they knew who did it. The technical foul was announced just 30 seconds after it was called on the court, and Laettner went to the free throw line to shoot his free throws, and he made both. Kentucky's Richie Farmer made one of the 2 technical free throws, and then after getting the ball, the Wildcats proceeded to turn it over. So, net result from the Laettner stomp, +1 for Duke. More insult to injury on the next possession. Farmer got called for a foul for a little push-off on Laettner, who then buried 2 more free throws. And quick note, Laettner was a perfect 10 for 10 from the line this night. But the Wildcats fought back. Tied at 93 with 0.8 of a second on the clock, Kentucky had the ball and they needed to go the length of the court. Now, I only bring this up for 2 reasons. 1, they should have had more than 0.8. And 2, Duke guarded the inbounder on the baseline. It was Laettner. Anyway, nothing happened. Game went to overtime. The OT was back and forth with 6 lead changes. After a pair of Laettner free throws, Duke had a 1-point lead. Kentucky had the ball out of a timeout with 7.8 seconds remaining. Sean Woods got it, drove the lane, hit a shot off the window over Laettner to give the Wildcats a 1-point lead. A Duke timeout stopped the clock with 2.1 seconds showing on the clock and time to draw up the final shot. And then, of course, the unguarded Grant Hill fired his 3/4 court pass to Laettner at the foul line, who faked right, spun left, nailed the jumper as the horn sounded. Final score, Duke 104, Kentucky 103. Pitino said afterward, that he chose not to guard the inbound pass because he felt he needed to put an extra man on Laettner and sandwich him. That sandwich obviously fell apart pretty quickly. Duke moved on to the Final Four, beating Indiana and then the Fab Five of Michigan to win their second straight NCAA championship. And one more quick note, this game not only marked the end of the season for Kentucky and the end of the line for the Unforgettables, but it was also the last game that legendary radio man Kaywood Ledford called for Kentucky. Duke's coach Mike Krzyzewski actually went over after the game to congratulate Kaywood on his career and wish him well in retirement. Also on this day, in 1982, it was the first NCAA Women's Basketball Championship. Prior to this, the women had played for the national title under the AIAW banner. I'll have a little more on that in tomorrow's edition, but here on this day in 82, Louisiana Tech beat Cheney University 76-62. Lots of interesting things about this game. First, Cheney University is the oldest historically black university in the country, established in 1837, and is the only HBCU to compete in an NCAA basketball championship game, men or women. And they were and still are a Division II team, playing in the D1 title game. Louisiana Tech, they were a friggin' juggernaut this season. They finished 35-1, beat 15 top 25 teams. And one of the players on that team was Kim Mulkey, who is the head coach at LSU currently. Now, it took 35 years for the La Tech players to actually receive their championship rings. Nobody really knows why. They did get watches with the NCAA logo on it afterward, and they thought, well, that's it. But they finally got their rings commemorating the first NCAA championship game in 2017. Also on this day in 1984, under the cover of darkness and with no announcement prior to it happening, Mayflower moving trucks showed up outside the Baltimore Colts training facility in Owings Mills. They were loaded up with Colts gear, and they drove away to Indianapolis. The day before, Colts owner Robert Irsay signed a 20-year lease with the city of Indianapolis, despite telling all those in Baltimore that he wanted to stay in Maryland. But Irsay wanted the city to pay for much-needed renovations to Memorial Stadium. Baltimore city officials wanted Irsay to pay for the renovations and had just passed a law allowing for the city to seize the franchise using eminent domain. And that's why Irsay ordered this middle-of-the-night skedaddle. Irsay's moving of the team ripped the heart right out of the city, who loved their Colts. Even Irsay's mother hated him after the move to Indy, saying, "He's a devil on earth, that one. He stole all our money and said goodbye. He was no good. He was a bad boy." Again, that's Irsay's mother. But as much as Baltimore and Irsay's mother hated him, Indianapolis loved him and the team. In just a few days, they had more than 140,000 requests for season tickets. And in 1999, it was a great day for the Duval family. The younger David shot a closing round 73 to win the Players' Championship at TPC Sawgrass, becoming the #1 ranked golfer in the world in the process. And his dad, Bob, shot 71 to win the Senior PGA's Emerald Coast Classic. It was Bob's only career win. And finally, here's today's non-sports Did You Know? In Colorado, it is illegal to use a catapult. Owning one, just fine. You just can't use it. That's all for today. I'll have more tomorrow on This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. we wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website, seriously, all you got to do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you got to do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.